Hello, everybody. My name's Joel Filderman, and welcome to the Dog Trainers Connection. I'm not a dog trainer, but these other people you see here are. We get together, we have a discussion about a topic, come up with some thoughts, some ideas, and sometimes some answers, but we always have an interesting discussion. And today is our first YouTube forum of 2021. So, welcome, trainers. And in particular, welcome to our guest today, Pam Loeb, who was one of our guests for our new forum that we started last year called DTC Live 5 at 5. And I hope that you people will check that out as well. And she is a trainer from Vermont, and her forum was about assistance dogs, which Pam is an expert on. So welcome, Pam. And like I said, trainers, today is our first YouTube forum of 2021. Can't believe I'm saying that number. But things in the dog training world, like a lot of the world right now, are kind of at a standstill. I always look at the news to see if there's anything going on, anything new, anything exciting. And for the most part, it's all the same. There's new laws coming about. There's this, that, the other thing. So I looked at our old YouTube forums. And back in January of 2020, our YouTube forum was the future of dog training. So looking back on that, I'm sure we all could look at that and go, wow, that didn't make any sense looking back on it now. But it brings me to my question for today, which is what what do you see as what do you see as the changes that are coming this year? We've talked a lot about being online. We've talked a lot about what the pandemic has done. We've talked a lot about a lot of things. So my question to you trainers is, do you think that a lot of those things that we talked about previously are going to continue? Do you think that things will change based upon those things, or something totally different? I think, Bonnie, you mentioned something when we talked about it, about that. Is there something that's going to be more specialization? I think that was what your point was. You want to expand on that?
When you mentioned the topic to me, I thought because so many aspects of our lives are, come down to seeking specialists, be it a
Hmm.
doctor, be it, and specialists and corporate. So I was just kind of going with that thought that, is dog training going to become more corporate? Maybe even more standardized in some way. And I don't know if that's through big stores like PetSmart, Petco, different ones that may crop up. Um, and I think, I that was basically my thought about it was specializing like people are specializing in separation anxiety, in aggression. It and I was thinking it used to be, you would train your dog, sit down, stay, come, heel, and, try to get your dog trained so that you could live comfortably with it. And then all these other issues came up with specialties. And maybe part of that was shows like the Caesar Milan show, where he would tackle a certain, aggression or um, some incident, some particular behavior problem to make it exciting. And
Hmm.
I'm not sure how that happened, but it, I think it used to be if you adopted a dog or bought a dog, you would train it, hire somebody local to help you if you had trouble with it, or go to a school, but there weren't all the specializations on except in if you were doing agility or competition obedience, then those were always specialties or you were showing your dog. But as far as training and behavior, um, I'm wondering, how far specialization is going to expand in this country.
Okay. And Pam, when I introduced you, I said you were an expert on assistance dogs. So is that specialization or is that expert? Is there a difference or?
Well, for me personally, I spent 20 years working with an assistance dog organization.
Mhm.
I think that the details of assistance dog work are sort of a specialty,
Mhm.
in terms of virtually anybody can teach a retrieve with a dumbbell, but can everybody figure out how to expand that skill then to my glasses or
Mhm.
something that's made of glass,
Sure.
or the details of, all right, picking up a dime off the floor or a credit card.
Mm.
It's a lot harder for the dog. It's the same skill, but working the dog through that, not everybody has the patience or I have, after 20 years, I have a lot of little tricks of the trade, so to speak. So in that sense, it's a specialty. But by the same token, basically it's sit down, stand, stay, heel, come, good basic obedience that you then take and use further.
Mhm.
So as far as that goes, a lot of people do sort of specialize in assistance dogs. But I think for me personally, as a dog trainer, a bigger piece of that puzzle that people don't always take into account is the human side of that, and
Mhm.
expanding your knowledge and know-how and specializing in human beings that are imperfect.
Mm.
How do you now take that skill of training a heel for somebody who doesn't walk smoothly? Or maybe doesn't walk at all and is just rolling. Maybe doesn't have use of their hands, can't hold the leash. How do you correct a dog if you can't collar correct because you have no hands to use? So those kinds of things become specialties in a sense,
Okay.
or expertise. I'm not sure.
Okay. And in keeping with the question that I was asking, do you see that changing? Do you see what has happened with the more technology with dog training? Do you see what you do? Or do you see that changing at all?
I see that people are more willing to use devices instead of dogs
Okay.
in some aspects. They can get through the world as a person with a disability and pass as an able-bodied person if they can use devices sometimes, especially hearing dogs. We had a client who dropped out because of training, because he saw how people treated the people accompanied by dogs versus,
Hmm.
he, at the time, texting was new. He could just sit and text
Sure.
and look like an able-bodied person. He didn't want to be. So in that sense, technology has sort of made it a little bit of each. Then again, remote collars, even the playing
Mm.
field. We had a client that was quadriplegic. We put a remote collar on his dog, trained it up with a remote collar. We used zip ties to hook the remote to his chair. And he could, with his fist, hit the button
Mm.
and get the same response from the dog as if I hit the button. That made it sort of universal in his training. It equaled the playing field. It leveled the playing field.
Mm. Interesting.
So the footnote to that is people who comment on assistance dogs out in public wearing equipment that they don't approve of, shut up. Look, you're able-bodied. You can choose to use whatever you want to use, and you can train your dog however you want to train them.
Mm.
If my arms and legs don't work, I don't have as many options as you do.
Mm.
So my dog is still a dog. He's not a robot. And if that remote collar makes my dog react the same way as he would for you who's able-bodied, then when we're out in public and my dog is doing what he's supposed to do, it doesn't matter what he's wearing as long as he's
Mm.
doing his job.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's my view on technology.
Mm.
Hmm.
And speaking of technology, Steve, I know that you have, for the most part, been doing, or have only been doing online. So is that online training? I mean, online dog training. So is that something that you see going forward that you're going to continue for for a long time, or is this only pandemic related? How do you see with that going?
Well, I guess there's a 500,000 dead people, that's what I'll say.
Okay.
And I have a good friend of mine now in the hospital fighting every day to survive.
Sorry.
And yet
Mm.
I have friends who train and they're going out. I get a call every week or two from one of them. Are you
Yeah.
going out yet? Are you going out yet? I'm overwhelmed. I can't handle it. I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, listen, good for you. I'm glad you're busy. I'm not going out. I'm not going out. I'd rather live a little longer. And I'm honest about the online dog training thing. I mean, my honesty, which is, what can
Excuse
I
me.
get done
Okay.
versus what can I not get done? Well, I know what I can't do. There's no mechanical skills I can teach on, this way, right? I mean, I've done some simple things with having the camera like face to the client and the dog, and I watch them. If they're not doing, their speed is off or they're not luring well, I can talk to them about that. But it's not the same as being in somebody's house and actually like you're on the dog, they're watching and things
Yeah.
are happening, and they're like, okay, I've got to behave like that. If they see it, it makes it a lot more digestible for them rather than me try to talk them through it. So my online thing is mostly about, it's theory, it's about teaching people how dogs learn, this kind of stuff. It's good for setting up schedules for folks, like just getting them kind of like lined up to be as successful as I can make them, even in that format. It's the best I can do this way. Is it fulfilling? Sometimes it's really great, because people really get, some of this stuff really works well for them, and I'm happy. But there are other people, maybe I'll Zoom a couple of times with them, and they'll get back to me, and I can hear what's going on. Where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to refer you to one of my friends that's brave enough to come out, because now you need somebody to show you, right? I've given you what I can give you, and clearly you need a little more, and I can't provide that the way I'm doing it. So let me introduce you to a friend or two of mine who is going out. And this, I feel, it's a service job, right? So that's giving service. It may not be me giving them the service, but
Sure.
I can get them the help. It's a service move. That's kind of how I feel about it. It's my job to give service, right? So that's the way sometimes it goes. In the meantime, would I like to go back out? I think so. I'm just a little concerned. It's going to take quite a while before we have most people vaccinated in this country, and then it's the flu never went away, right? I don't expect it
Sure.
to ever go away, but hopefully it won't kill 500,000 people in a year when we finally get some sort of a handle on it. I mean, I'm disappointed with the whole way this is like kind of going. I feel like I'm so excited that there's a vaccination. That's wonderful. But maybe 4 months ago, I saw a researcher on TV from South Africa, and he talked about a in-home test that would you just blow into this device, right? And kind of then there's a snap, right? It's like a snap test kind of thing. You go in, you hit the snap. There's some reagent mixes with the precipitation, and within 15 minutes, you know if you're positive or not.
Wow.
And at the time, he said this cost about $1 a test. That would make it affordable enough for everybody in the family to test themselves every single day, and you don't leave the house if it's positive. But if it's not, you can go out and know that you're okay. I thought that was the true answer to this whole thing. Daily testing at home, no bloods necessary, a snap test, the same way they do like feline leukemia and FIP tests in the animal hospital, right? I mean, it's a snap. A lot of tests are now manufactured to be that way. And it was funny how he said it's $1 a test. I was like, wow, awesome. And then like couple of months later, I see another guy on TV talking about a similar thing, except that now the test is $10 a test. And it's still not available. Why not? Because there's a lot of money being made on the vaccine, right? So we're dying, and they're looking to make money. It always kind of goes back to how much money can you make?
Follow the money.
It's horrible. It is horrible. And I'm happy about the vaccinations. I really am. But I think that if we don't get with the test also, there's going to be limits on how well we're going to really do as a society.
Yeah.
So that's just my 2 cents. Meantime, I'm
Hmm.
going to live long enough. I mean, my friend's in the hospital, really not doing well. One of his daughters lives in Austin, Texas. She had to fly in. It's not
Mm.
good to be flying. She's pregnant. This
Ooh.
would be his first grandchild. He may never meet this kid, right? He got this because I mean, I followed this whole thing. He sat in a cigar lounge with somebody who tested positive for antibodies on a routine bloods before a colonoscopy
Mm.
and decided he was going to continue to go to this lounge, right? So he was non-symptomatic, but he was spreading. You think
Hmm.
he was talking about that? You think he's one of these like naysayer kind of guys who's like, you know, heavy right winged, it's all BS,
Mm.
Fauci guy doesn't know what he's talking about. One of those guys. And I have a friend who's likely to die because this guy, so we're in a funny spot. Me, I'm staying home, Joel. The answer is for now, I'm
Okay.
staying home.
Okay. Jeff, you see anything changing in dog training coming up quickly because of everything that's been happening or because of what's been discovering or anything to that effect?
Not for me.
Okay.
I'm literally at the point, I'm just putting my head down and I'm just taking one step forward. Um, the only thing, I do a lot of Zooms. The past year, I've increased my virtual consults, and that blessing in disguise was I got better at something I was really good at early in my career
Mm-hmm.
that I kind of lost um, a little bit of efficacy with, and that is um, the transition of the dog responding to me to handing that over to the people.
Mm.
Mm.
Because you
Interesting.
do privates, and and early on, it's a little, early in your career, and I don't know, maybe it's an enthusiasm thing. I don't know. I've always been good with people, but I was always good at that transfer of guardianship or leadership, whatever word people
Sure.
feel comfortable
Yeah.
with out there. Um, I say leadership, you say guardianship. To me, it's the same thing. Anyway, so
Tomato, tomato.
I was always good at that early in my career, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being honest. I always try to very analytical and critical of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I lost that somewhere along the way,
Mm.
and I don't know if it was patience or workload or I don't know. Like do it this way, go. I don't know. I just don't know why I got away from that or my efficacy in that area decreased. But this past year, I had to do that again because I was literally doing it on a Zoom. And, I've shared this
Mm-hmm.
where, I would watch them. They would show me, like Steve said, you can comment on timing, right? You could comment on posture. You can comment on shaping. You could do all that stuff. And I had my own dogs here where I could show them, but I literally had to walk them through it because I had no choice because I wasn't going out to people's homes.
Yeah.
So that was a blessing in disguise for me because I got to revisit a skill that I used to be really good at, and I lost it a little bit along the way.
Mm.
So I feel like I've recaptured that, and now that I'm doing privates again for a while now, and I literally have had, I think every single day this year, I've had just about every day, I've had a private session.
Mm-hmm.
So that skill has helped me, and I'll tell you why. This is what I'm alluding to. When I go to people's homes, sometimes they want me to wear a mask. Sometimes it's not necessary. We are practicing social distancing where we can. So, yeah, I'm doing some work, and sometimes we're in close proximity. But, just the other day, I had a high-risk couple that hired me to come to their home. I had a mask on. We were practicing social distancing at their request, which I honor.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was same thing as a Zoom. I can't have them walk next to me and let
Yeah.
them feel what I'm doing.
Sure.
So that skill, revisiting that skill and honing it again has been really helpful for me.
Mm.
So and it's like I talk about when I'm working with students, like sometimes we're reviewing stuff in our coursework and I'm like, oh shit, Yeah, I forgot about that. You know, I haven't thought about that in 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, so it's good that it keeps it fresh. You know, and obviously for any trainers watching this, it's important that we're critical of ourselves.
Yeah.
I am not too prideful that I know that I'm, you know, I know there's areas in my life just from an age standpoint, I can't do the things I used to do. So I have to make sure that I'm honing my skills in other areas so I can be as effective as I've ever been, because I'm not a specialty trainer. You know, I mean, obviously I work with problem dogs, but I didn't seek that out years ago. That happened because I was working with dogs no one else wanted to or were willing to. And I was the idiot that, yeah,
Yep.
sure, I'll do it. You know?
Gotta be somebody.
Yeah, you know, so you know, so that's helpful. And you know, like Pam, I work with dumbbells too. It's a completely different kind of dumbbell. You know, that keeps things fresh. You know,
I work with them too.
yeah, so you know, I mean, it's not changing for me. The virus is the virus. I'm not going to get too much into it. You know, any argument, I always find myself somewhere in the middle. You know, I try to see both sides. The problem is the information we get, regardless of what, you know, which way we lean or what network we watch. I don't believe any of them. So, so I'm just putting my head down. I am going to respect the wishes of my clients, and I'm going to work within the parameters of what they feel comfortable with. And, you know, when I need to, I have Zoom to rely on. You know, and in the meantime, I'm going to keep trying to provide the best service I can to my clients in whatever capacity they're most comfortable with.
Okay.
Jeff, I just have a quick question, thought
Sure.
of something. Would you, if you went to a client's home and they did not wear a mask, would you be comfortable with that?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, obviously, we talk to each other beforehand. You know, there's time, you know, I mean, they might ask me, you know, are you around a lot of people? Now, generally, I'm not, because I work from home mostly with the rescue dogs.
Yeah.
You know, but anytime I'm out, I follow, you know, whatever store I go into, whatever their rules are. I generally follow their guidelines. But if people don't need me to wear a mask, I don't.
No, I meant that they didn't. I was just kind of,
Yeah, I mean, if I walk in and they're sniffling and coughing, I'm probably going to say something. I'm not an idiot, you know. Yeah, but
Well, I taught a class this summer, the first class I've taught in forever. A friend of mine had a new puppy and asked me if I'd help out, and said sure. And it became she and 5 of her neighbors kind of thing, all had young dogs. And so we had an outdoor class in somebody's backyard. And because we were outdoors in the backyard, and because it was summer and things hadn't gotten bad again like they have now, people who wanted to wear masks did. I didn't, because I needed to be able to speak to the people that were 30 feet away and have them hear me. But it was also outdoors, and it was based on everybody's comfort level. But it was really weird when you're the kind of person that says, here, let me show you how to do this. And you want to go over and take the leash and show them.
Sure.
But you don't want to walk up to somebody.
Yeah.
So it's a very awkward situation.
of course.
Yeah.
Oh,
and that similar thing happened when I was at a high-risk couple's house the other day. Obviously, we were masked at, and you know, it's not like I'm in a little 8x8 kitchen with the whole family, right?
Sure.
Most of the time, especially down here, most of the homes I'm going to, they're open floor plans. It's a little more conducive. But the other day, you know, I always ask, you know, I said, you know, I need to say hello to dogs. If you want to stand back a little bit, is it okay if I slide my mask down? You guys know how I feel about meeting dogs with a mask on, right? It's like, I don't wear hats. I don't wear hoodies on appointments, especially when working with problem dogs, right? You know, so, and they respect that. And, you know, they step away, I do my thing, and then I get up and I put it back on. You know, so, you know, the main thing is that, you know, we're taking precaution, we're being respectful of our clients, but we also have a job to do. You know, and you know, we have to navigate that balance.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm as far as me, I'm kind of along
Go
the
ahead,
lines
David.
I'm sorry, unless you had some other question.
Nope,
But
nope.
along the lines of what Steve is saying, I'm not going anywhere to anybody's house, and mainly because I have an autoimmune disease, so I just, I don't want to take that risk, that chance. So that, and plus, even if when I wear a mask, when I take my guys out for a walk, forget it. I just quickly learn I can't wear my glasses on. If I wear my glasses, they're fogging up. So I can see better without my glasses than I can with my glasses. So I'd be useless to a client, and I'd be to see them, it's like, or their dog. So, yeah. So, but I find the Zoom has been helping. It's, and like what Jeff was saying, I've had to adapt, with the technology. I'm not that great with technology, but what it has allowed me to do is, versus talking about it and so forth, like agility and different aspects of training, when I'm with a client, let's say in person, I have a whole little gym set up downstairs. So I've trained my dogs how to go up on the treadmill, get up on like a little exercise machine, and all these kind of crazy things. I have a little chute down there. I bought like Toys R Us or whatever. So I have my dogs going through there. So sometimes I'll just have them do that really quickly, not as a training thing, like a side thing, as a break for their dog, what have you.
I see.
Wow, I gotta, you can show me how to do that. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I gotta go to Toys R Us or go wherever to get that thing, So I'm not even trying to train their dog for that. That's not what they called me for. But it can sometimes lead to other things. But
True.
I guess the downside of technology, what we're all talking about, kind of is that hands-on. You don't get that feeling thing, and you can't recreate that unless you're there, right? So I've had a lot of pushback on that. Like I had a client the other day call me, or actually text me, and said, David, just checking in with you. Just wondering if you were doing any more, if you're going to plan on doing any, hands-on training now. And I said, no, I'm not. That's just not happening right now. I said, but I can refer you to somebody if you're interested. And I had worked with them for probably like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and everything was always good. But I never heard back from them, so I don't know what happened. It's kind of strange,
Yeah, I think trainers are doing a lot of referring in general.
Oh yeah,
Because and even you just it's hard to get online sometime and help somebody virtually, because you don't really, you don't feel you have all of the information you need.
Well, yeah, and the other thing too, I had this woman, really nice lady in my area. I was working with her and her dog, and everything was going great. I was working with her for probably about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. And she never said a word about anything bad. I always said, everything okay? Everything's, how's the dog doing? How's it responding? And sometimes it was like retreating, going backwards, so to speak, not doing so well in terms of some of the things we were working on. But generally speaking, it was, the dog was progressing. And then the other day she texted me and she says, oh, by the way, I found a new trainer. My son got me a trainer to work with, hands on
Live.
So I'm so excited. I'm like, she said, the training, I just couldn't understand it or something like that. And I didn't have the time. I'm thinking to myself, really? Because you're a teacher at home and you never said anything to me that you didn't need the help or whatever. You get some of that sometimes too. But like I mentioned to you, Joel and Bonnie, before we got on, there's this thing I saw on TV called this Go Dogo, and it takes like the Fubo, the dog treat dispensing toy with a camera to the next level. And I thought that was kind of an interesting concept by this woman what's her name? Her name was what was her name? Oh, Hannah Jarm or something out of Denmark. So she came up with this thing. It's like an egg-shaped little thing, right? And it's got a camera. It's got a treat dispensing toy. It's got actually 2 cameras. And so what they do, you hook it up with an app and you hook it up with HDMI cable to your TV. And I guess they have the trainer, like you or whoever it might be, puts all the video into the TV. It gets downloaded to your TV. So let's say you're away from home, what have you. You can send all these training scenarios up for your dog. Your dog watches the TV. And if the dog doesn't sit, you ask the dog to sit, doesn't sit, the camera will see that response and not reward the dog. If the dog sits, it gets rewarded. Now, obviously, you don't have the hand signals, you don't have the nose, you don't have the corrections or whatever it might be to address that. But it sounded like a good, interesting concept because, she said I was doing all the treat dispensing and leaving the treats around for the treat dispensing toys and puzzle toys for them and, go find it, all that kind of stuff when I leave home. But it was only doing so much stimulation for my dog. And so I she was a scientist or is a scientist. And she came up with the idea and then went to some like
Oh.
4 or 5 different neuroscientists, whatever, and they
Mm.
compiled their information together and they came up with this thing. So
Mm.
a neat concept, but I don't know
Wow.
much more about it.
One of the things that I think that we are all missing, all of us sitting here that are doing visits, especially dog training online like this. I know personally, I've done some online, I've been a student for some online lessons, and personally, I don't enjoy them. I have resisted signing up for online stuff because I like the interaction in a class setting. But one of the things I think that we're missing is I can guarantee that anyone else on this call, if any one of you walks over to a student dog and takes that dog and says, here, when your dog does that thing, I'll show you how to fix it. And you take the leash and the dog never does that thing because they wouldn't do that to a person that they respect.
Right.
Or a person that they feel has the level of power or whatever it is that comes through the leash. We cannot put that energy through the leash on Zoom the way we can in person. And I tried not to use my own dog to demonstrate all the time because I don't always want them to see the finished thing. I want them to see, all right, you can fix a dog that's, you know, doing these things. And sometimes just my taking the leash and just healing their dog away and having their dog go, oh, I can do this, just as though it's normal, which they would never do with their owner.
Helps.
Their owner can see that the dog can actually do these things, is capable. And that's something that we can't share on Zoom the way we can in person. I can't create that magic on Zoom the way I can by just walking away with a leash. So in terms of this ever replacing in-person training, it's not going to happen. In my view.
And actually, Joel and I are working on a seminar, live at 5 on kind of a similar subject about just, you know, not learning hands-on from people that are doing it hands-on, just sitting in a class and just learning the theory, and, you know, and that people need things fixed. And are they being fixed, and what's happening? So I'm sorry. I just realized, thank you, Pam. That's kind of lead
And I know
into,
too, that to go back to Margot and learning styles, one of the things that we cannot do on Zoom and cannot do with technology the way you can do in person is she used to describe, she had a student who couldn't learn through words, had to feel the thing that you were trying to do. It was a physical, whatever it was. So she literally stood behind that person and draped her arms over them and like moved their arm this way and that way. And okay, walk forward. And I want your arm to do this or that. And the person picked it up because she was modeling it with them, but you could never do that on Zoom. So that segment of the population, we have to find a new way to help.
And that really is what it comes down to. And for those who don't know, Pam, you were talking about Margot Woods.
Yes. Yes, we talked about her before we started.
Yep. And so that seems like a good place to stop. As usual, it's complicated. But I think as usual, we had an interesting discussion. And while we may not necessarily have talked about what the future of dog training looks like, we did talk about the need for dog trainers to adapt. And that's what I really heard all of you talking about today. That's a skill that is something that needs to be practiced and something that needs to be worked on. And maybe, as Jeff was saying, in some ways, maybe what happened with this whole pandemic helped that along. I don't know, but it certainly is something to think about. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank you all for watching. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our Facebook channel if you haven't, our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, if you haven't. There we go. Those were the words I was looking for. And we will see you next time. So thanks a lot, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, Jeff is gone.
Jeff.
Oh.